the game was different, right? The rules was different. The ball was different.
The Euro style is different in America.
The Euro style was a lot different than America.
That's the first time y'all seen that Euro step too, huh?
Absolutely.
This morning, this afternoon, this evening, depending on what time zone you're in, we are joined by a young man called Josh Steele. Josh, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on, first of all. So I'm a 5-year pro, starting my 5th year with the Manchester Giants, so I'm back in the BBL. Was in Spain for about 2.5 seasons, for a few teams in La Plata and in Laboro. And yeah, started my career with the Surrey Scorchers, but yeah, like I said, now I'm back in the BBL.
Nice, man, nice. And how's that going real quick? How's the BBL life been treating you?
It's good, man. I'm enjoying Manchester. Like, I'm a southerner, so I never really thought I'd be living up north, but I'm enjoying it, man. Like, because living in Manchester is really nice. Like, we're right in the middle of the city, so I get to really experience it. So I'm enjoying it, man. I'm actually really enjoying being back home.
Okay, nice. You know, I'm a southerner too, and when I went and worked for Myasco up in Preston, man, I was like, this is a completely different universe. So
I can imagine.
It's when it's all farm and fields and all the rest of it. So it was a interesting voyage, but no, it's great. Okay, so we're gonna start with you getting into college basketball. Do you want to explain how your dream of becoming a college athlete came about?
Well, it's just naturally. I feel like it goes without saying, when you play basketball in this country, it's all you're ever told, go to the States, that's what you need to do. So from then, seeing NCAA games on TV and all of that stuff, I was like, yep, okay, I want a career in basketball, so I need to go to the States. So I guess it came from there. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Barking Abbey, where, they have a really good setup and, a whole system put in place for helping players go to the States and get a lot of advice and things like that. So, yeah, no, I was just lucky to be in that position.
Okay, nice. And who was coaching you down in Barking?
A number of people, but, Coach Lloyd Gardner, so my coach now at Giants, he helped me from since I was like 12 all the way up to 18 and back, now again.
Okay, no, that's pretty cool. All right, so you went to Duquesne, right?
Yeah, Duquesne.
Okay, so how and why did you choose Duquesne?
To be honest, man, it was looking back on it, it was a really poor decision, because for maybe like during the whole process, and I had cut off a lot of schools and whittling down my decision, I decided that I wanted to go to Davidson, which is in the same conference. Yeah, had a really good relationship with Bob McKillop and the rest of the coaching staff. They were recruiting me back when they were in the SoCon, before they went to the A10, so I had known them for a few years. I decided, I'm gonna go. And then kind of like last minute, they were like, okay, like everything's in order. Like, do you have like a language qualification? And I didn't take language at GCSE, like it's just not something I opted to do. So I was sort of faced with the predicament of, well, I could go to a prep school or, just find another school. And I just didn't really want to go to prep school. It wasn't the way I had my life plan set up. I was going to go to D1 right away, all of that. But anyway, shortly after that fell through kind of thing, Duquesne was very quick to sort of like message me, get in touch, come to Barking, speak to me and all of that. And it didn't really take much, because again, all I saw was the conference. I saw A10, that's the conference I wanted to be in. I'll make it work, I'll go there. So it wasn't the most informed decision, but I was young and what are you gonna do?
I hear you. And for those that are unaware, A10 is the Atlantic 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what made you want to play in the Atlantic 10?
Well, it's a good conference, like a really good, well-respected conference, man. Like, I would say, ironically, like every other school other than Duquesne has pretty much had a run in the NCAA tournament. Like, you've got Davidson, for example, George Washington even did back in the day, VCU, Richmond, Dayton. There's a ton of great schools in that conference. It's like it's a basketball conference. So I thought it was a good enough level for me to play at, like mid-major, but still having a chance and opportunity to play against, some of the power conference schools as well. Like, this was the idea of going to Davidson, but just being in the same conference, playing against those kind of schools in that conference, I felt like, that was just the opportunity I was kind of looking for.
Okay, that makes sense. And I'm curious, what other schools did you have, looking at you, what was the range of schools?
A few, man, and it's hard to say because, again, being at Barking, like, you see so many college coaches come in and out, and so, like, from the time that I was maybe like 14, 15, practicing with some of the older guys, there's coaches coming in from then. So my memory's a bit like there was a lot of schools that came and went. So, for example, like, I spoke to Gonzaga and like Marquette for a while, but again, like, came and gone. And then there'll be schools like back, JMU, UTSA, like South Carolina, like it was all over the place. It's quite a long recruitment process.
Okay. And what type of scholarship did you get? And did your grade, you kind of touched on it already, saying about your English, but what scholarship did you get, and did your grades play a factor?
Oh, it was a full scholarship, and my grades weren't a problem. It's the fact that I didn't have, I didn't take French or Spanish.
Oh, okay.
It's a private institution, so they kind of they have their own set of rules, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, my GCSEs were fine. Like, I didn't have a problem with that. My SATs could have been higher, but would have got me into most schools. Just if I wanted to go Ivy League or whatever, I would have had to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problems there.
Okay. And what questions, when you was going to Duquesne, what questions did you ask the coach? And I guess two-part here, like, what do you wish you inquired about? What more research did you need to do?
Well, the difficult thing is, like, I feel like when you're talking to a college coach, like, they're not just coaches, they're kind of like, their whole job is to sell the school. So you can kind of ask any question you want and they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. You know what I mean? So at the time, I felt like I was asking the right questions, i.e. like, where do I fit in the system, this, that, and the third, and they're just going to tell me what I want to hear. Like, end of the day, like, yeah, if you work hard, you'll play. Like, we want you to do this, we see you do this, they show you highlights or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so I felt like I asked the right questions. I would just say I personally don't think I did enough of my own due diligence. And one of the biggest things that I sort of look back on and really regret that I didn't really notice very well on is that the head coach at Duquesne at the time hadn't really had much experience with players from Europe. Now, granted, Ovi Soko went to Duquesne as well, but Ovi had already been in high school. He's already been in the American system, so he's not your typical European player.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure. He wasn't even there. That head coach wasn't there when Kieran was there. So I was the only international player on the team, and that actually it affected me a lot while I was there, because simple things that we're taught in Europe to do, for example, one-handed passes and things like that.
Oh yeah.
I'd be made to run for that. So for me, it was just I wish I paid more attention to the kind of players he recruited and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if a coach has dealt with European players in the past, they'll understand how European basketball is, and be more tolerant and maybe even more open-minded. Whereas I felt I just ignored all of that and just went, well, I'll make it work. I'm good enough, Yeah. It's
funny, especially that you bring that up, because I've coached at two places, and over here in the States, and it's bringing in the European flavor to it, the one-handed passes, the kind of flow offenses and all the rest of it. And, I've had coaches or owners or whoever have issues, and I'm man, this is kind of crazy. I'm no, this is how our juniors play. Do you know what I mean?
I've been taught how to do these kind of things since, for most of my life playing basketball. You can't take that out of me now. I feel like I'm going backwards.
Yeah. So, and season one, we spoke to quite a few people. I know Renee Bush from Seven Oaks, she talks about, you know, her playing at home. She's a combo guard. She plays one, she plays two, maybe a little bit of three, and then, you know, when she went to Penn, it was just all like, hey, you are the two, and you're running down this side of the wing and nothing else. And you know, she talks about it being a hard adjustment. So
you get put in a box in college,
you know, it's interesting. So again, you kind of talked on it a little bit, but what's the Atlantic 10 conference like in terms of style of play? You know, is it a big league, or is it a shooters league, ISO play?
It's typical mid-major, man. Like, for example, okay, just take the schools that do well. They usually, like Davidson, they run a pretty good motion offense, have a good flavor of players that, you know, like, you know, good shooters, good size. Like, they're able to compete with, you know, they get big wins against, you know, power conference schools. So they match up pretty well. They're just a bit smaller. So yeah, no, it's a competitive league.
Okay, nice. So we're going to talk about, I guess, starting to where the turning point. So you did 2 years at Duquesne. Now, what is the reason why you only did 2 years?
A number of reasons, to be honest, man. A number of reasons. So basketball, like, I just wasn't feeling it for the exact reason we just said there. Like, I felt like I had been made promises that weren't really, you know, I wasn't being, more than anything, I don't feel like I was being made into a better basketball player, just period. So, like, there just wasn't enough attention to my game. I was just sort of being told to shoot the ball, and this was kind of it. And I had much more aspiration for my game than just being an out-and-out shooter. And yeah, so for the basketball, I didn't really feel like it was cutting it. So I always wanted to transfer. And then on the other side of things, as far as off the court, I just don't think I was really being supported in the way that I felt like I wanted to be, being that far away from home. I didn't feel like in certain situations the coaching staff had my back, and I just didn't want to be there anymore. Like, it's why leaving was so abrupt. I'd kind of just had enough. I decided to leave at it was like in the middle of the season. It's why I didn't just naturally transfer. Because you got to imagine, like, in January, the transfer window is like, I'd be making just as bad a decision by going to a school where, you know, I'm just going to any school that will take me at that point. I figured, let me come home, wait the rest of the season out, and just wait for the end of the season, and we'll go from there. But the way things played out, like, sorry, I don't know if I'm answering your question. This is just
go ahead.
But yeah, so I got in touch with an agent, and yeah, he was just like, well, while you make a decision, whether you decide to go back to the States or not, I'll represent you regardless. But yeah, he was giving me options as far as pro and all of that stuff. And the more I got to talking to him, I was kind of just like, you know, I've always wanted to be a professional basketball player. Like, what am I going back for? Like, I didn't enjoy it. Why do I want to take this risk again? I have these opportunities right here in front of me now. And I kind of just bet on myself, you know. I always felt like I could be a pro basketball player. Like, I'll do the work. Like, yeah, I'll make sure. Like, I went over to the States for a year and a half, and I don't feel I got any better. I was working myself out. Like, I remember, because I wasn't playing my freshman year, like, not at all. Like, after games, I'd be with the managers. Like, I'd pull one aside and I'd work out for an extra hour and a half or whatever. So, like, I knew I'd do the work to be able to be a pro. So I just decided, no, I'll bet on myself, and yeah, let me do this.
Okay. That's interesting, especially it being like mid-year, and I guess, yeah, the transfer window, you know, it's like kind of hit and miss at that point in time in the year. But why did you not think to yourself, hey, look, it didn't work out here? And I know you said that, you know, you wanted to play pro anyway, but why did you not think, hey, look, I'm gonna give it another shot at another school? You know, clear my head, come home for a while, reacclimate myself, you know, get back right, and then make a better decision than I did the first time round.
it just wasn't as appealing to me as going and living my dream. You know what I mean? As someone offers you like, here you can do what you've always wanted to do since you're a kid, shooting in the back garden now, or you can bumble around in school and I don't really know what I want to learn yet, and all these other things, and you know, take 2 years to do that. And I just thought, like, especially like I'm talking to this agent and he's talking to me about like, well, we've got this offer in A2, we've got this here, this here, this here. I'm like, what am I wasting my time over here for? I can come and do this now. You know, I'll be fine. Like, I always felt like, okay, well, this gives me 2 years to be in the environment that all of my peers still have to wait another 2 years for. I can get 2 years up on them. Like, you know, like now, like I'm a 5-year veteran and I'm 24. You know, there are people, we have a rookie on our team now who's 24. So like, you know, I'm already 4 years deep in the game on him, which is what really matters at the end of the day. Once you learn, you become a pro, like where you went to school and how well you did in school. 2 seconds, man. Sorry, I have coaching in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't thought we had a bit more time. Yeah, so I felt like when you become a pro, like where you go to college and stuff like that, like you know, if you don't, it's year to year. So if you would, no matter how well you did in college, if you did okay that first year as a rookie and then not so much, like those years of college don't matter as much. What matters is what you're doing each year as a pro. So that's why I felt like it was more important.
Okay, I like it. What was the hardest thing about making the decision to leave?
It's scary, isn't it? I mean, like at the end of the day, like it took me a while to get my first job in the end. My first 2 offers didn't really work out. They were trials. Like I went to, I have a video on YouTube about this if you really want to go and like really listen to the out and out bits of the story. But yeah, like I was in Italy. That didn't quite work out. Like that deal fell through. I was in Slovenia. That deal fell through again. And you know, it's September and I don't have a job. So that's scary, man. And like you ask any professional basketball player, you pretty much go through that every single year, unless you've re-signed, you know, like right after the season. You don't know what you're going to be doing year to year, and you're just hoping that you're going to get some money on the table next season. So that was the scariest thing. Like I believed in myself, but I had just gone to my first trial, and essentially, like whether it's my fault or not, or the agent's fault, like I didn't get the job. Went again, same thing. My fault, the agent's fault, didn't get the job. So now I'm sitting here just like, well, you know, what now? And I'm not hearing the phone ring. But Lloyd Creon needed another guy. They didn't have a huge budget for anyone special. So, you know, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I'd say you're special. Don't put yourself down.
Yeah, no, I'm not putting myself down. You know what I mean?
I got you.
If I just go by anyone, you know? Yeah,
I got you. All right. What do you think you could have done differently to change the outcome? Do you know what I mean? You know, obviously, as you said, you bet on yourself and everything was, you know, cool and you don't regret the decision. But what do you think you could have done differently, either from the recruitment process or the leaving process to kind of change the outcome?
I think I just would have been less arrogant and accepted that maybe either whether it's another year at Barking or a year at prep school to go to the school that really, really wants you, that would have changed everything. Like I again, this is not to say that I regret, but I think if I got there, my career would be completely different. I think because, like I said, it's the difference between a school that's come along last minute and a school that's been recruiting me for, 3-4 years. Like, you know, they want you there, they're invested in you, and this, that. Like, there's a huge difference. So, and that goes from all the way down to, like I said, not just on the court. Like, I didn't feel like the coaching staff really had my back. And at the end of the day, when you're a million miles away from home, that's what you want. You need another family over there. And, you know, I didn't really feel like I had that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely talk about that a lot all throughout all 3 seasons. How were you treated, or how were you received by your friends and peers and your parents? You know what I mean? Like, once you say, hey, I'm, you know, as a kid, you know, I go to Barking Abbey, I'm chipping away at this getting to America dream. You get there and then you turn around and go, actually, I'm done. was there resentment? Was there, people ridiculing you? Like, was people supportive? What was the reaction you got?
Well, like, first of all, like, my dad supports me in whatever I do. Like, he's amazing for all that. So he's like, and again, like, me talking to him day to day, he knows I'm not happy there. So he just wants me to be happy at the end of the day. So nothing from him. And he's happier I'm back home anyway, you know what I mean? He gets to see me again. So he's happy with that. If anyone was ridiculing me, I don't know about it. So, I didn't hear anything. And again, my friends, like, they ask why, and they're like, oh, are you going to go back? And like, what about school? What about education? And of course, all of this comes up. But like, again, just like I'm telling you now, I'd tell them why I made my decision. I felt like I just thought about it. I didn't rush into it. I've weighed all these things up. So it is what it is, isn't it? Like, it is what it is. It was my decision. I own it.
Okay, I like it. Just, hey, it happened. Okay.
Yeah,
was there any value in going to the States?
Yeah, of course. Like, don't get me wrong, I met great people. Like I was the team we had there. So maybe not the staff, but I don't think I've ever been on a team where the guys were as close knit as we were. Like, seriously, that was the family, if anything. Like, really mess with all the guys on the team. And just college in general, you learn things like time management. All these other things that help you to become a young adult. So all of that's good, and it's not all bad. Like, you get the access to the gym that I couldn't work out the way I was working out, back then in England without having to kick badminton off that, or that kind of thing. So, Of course, there's benefits. There's benefits to every situation, no matter how negative it is. So yeah, no, I definitely value the experience.
Okay, cool. I know you got to go soon, so we've got last 4 questions. What is your level of independence in college, and what do you think somebody should know how to do before they get to college?
Right, I didn't feel very independent in college because they're kind of on you all the time. Like, you have no free time. Like, if you think you have an off day, you're doing something. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we got dinner or something like that. I didn't really feel very independent. But also, we had to live on campus. Like, they don't at Duquesne now, but at the time, like, we couldn't live off campus. So we dined in the school diner and all of that. So like, I didn't have to cook. I had lived alone for a bit. Like, when I was at Barking my last year, I stayed closer to the school, so I knew how to cook and stuff. But none of those skills were needed when I was in the States. Like, you can get food pretty easily anywhere in America, and it's all free. So to be honest, I didn't feel very independent. The only thing that I'm independent on kind of is schoolwork, and even then you have tutors that will help you out and nag you to do work. So I'll be honest, I didn't feel very independent.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a little bit about time management before. What else, would you suggest that, they learn and adapt or have an idea of?
Well, when we were talking about this a little bit before, you was just like distractions. And I think that's important. Although I don't have any horror stories myself necessarily about, necessarily getting too involved with drugs or alcohol or anything like that. Like, I don't have any like wild stories to tell you, like not a dare story, nothing like that. But I will say it's very real. Like, you just can't get lost in the source. Like, I understand, and it's very normal for all kids that go to university. Like, you're liberated, you're away from your parents, like less responsibilities, and there's all these other young people, and you can just go and party all the time. And like, yeah, that's fun, and you should be a college kid and enjoy yourself, but you are there for a reason. So like, you just have to, you have to have a balance. I think balance is important. I wouldn't say go all in and just never party and never socialize. At the end of the day, you'll meet people in college through that, and there'll be lifelong friends, there'll be partnership, connections made for the future. But balance is important. So I will say that. Other than time management, I think that's important in college. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Perfect. So I like the fact that you kind of touched on that question as well, dealing with the distractions and drugs and stuff. Are there any vices that you found to be not as destructive? Was there stuff that you did that kind of, when you're homesick and all the rest of it, that kind of took your mind off things and, it wasn't detrimental?
Yeah, I won't say that though, because I don't want to say that I was doing any of these things to cope with me being away from home. Like if I did any of these things, it was only because I wanted to, and I'm like in an environment where I'm having fun. Do you know what I mean? Like none of it was isn't necessarily. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
So
I got you.
I wouldn't know if I would say that. No.
Okay, cool. Last one. What advice would you give to a new recruit that wants to go to America? That's thinking about, hey, I want to go play in D1, D2, whatever. What's your advice?
All right. First of all, I think you need to know why you're going to the States. If you're just going to the States because you just want to go to America, or I would weigh it up with whether you could do what you're doing here or potentially somewhere else in Europe, because I don't think going to just a random JUCO in Wyoming is necessarily you don't understand what I'm saying? Like you have to have a reason for going. Don't just go to the States because it's what everybody's told you to do. And then don't do either. Don't chase conferences. Don't chase big name schools. Go to who said it the other day? I think it was Spencer Dinwiddie or something like that. But it's just like picking girls, man. You give the one that gives you the most attention, reciprocates the love. Don't at the end of the day, the school's got to fit you. You shouldn't be fitting the school, kind of thing. Like I said as well, when you're a pro, you find people that have come from D2s, have come from low D1 schools and all sorts of places that end up playing in the highest leagues, making six figures because they're in good situations that help them flourish and stuff like that. So I would say you need to do your due diligence and find the school that fits you, not the other way around.
Perfect. Hey, my man. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us today.
No problem at all. Thank you.
All right, my man.
Appreciate you watching the EuroStepping.
I want to thank everybody for watching EuroStepping.
Watching the EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
You've been watching the EuroStepping.
The EuroStepping.
EuroStepping.
You've been watching the EuroStepping, a great podcast show hosted by Coach D.